Final episode in our hot sauce video. We started with a raw pepper. We fermented it. Now it's time to blend it and emulsify it, strain it, and get something that we can use and put on our food. We'll do that in part 3. Same day, same shirt, same series. Making Tabasco style pepper sauce. If you were watching part 2, you saw us pick in part 1 these Tabasco peppers and fill these 4 jars in part 2 and make our saltwater brine to start the fermentation process. Here are 2 jars that I've had fermenting for over 5 weeks. These jars, I did these the day that Ozark Spirit and I went and tried Sassy's Red House in Fayetteville. It's a barbecue video. If you follow the Preacher's Barbecue Trail, it was right before I left. I chopped these peppers and started them fermenting. I believe that was August 28th or 9th, somewhere right in there. Anyways, they have ceased to give off bubbles. They've sunk considerably, and it's time to pull these out and strain the juice off. And we're going to save the juice. For one thing, we're going to use it to kickstart these peppers here, because this juice has the bacteria in it and it's just sitting there dormant, and because it's eating all the sugars that are in these peppers. So if we add it to fresh peppers, it will give them a major kickstart. So that's what we're going to do now. If you look at these, and I'll bring you over here close, I'll show you what you're looking at. You obviously don't want to see black mold or anything like that. A little white film around the top here, that's normal. That's call yeast. I didn't have too much with either one of these jars. I had a little residual right here around the edge. Just wiped it out with a paper towel, and it's fine. But if you look there, the liquid is pretty clear. You can still see some air bubbles down in there that haven't worked their way out yet. So the first thing we need to do is retrieve the glass weight. Give me something to set the weight on now. So here I have a fine mesh strainer, and I want to catch that liquid, remember, because I want to use it as kind of a starter for the other pepper sauces. I'm back with a clean quart jar. I have my fermented Tabasco peppers here, and we've let them drain about all we're going to let them drain, so we got to get them in the jar. And now it's time to give them a puree. We want them blended to oblivion. Alright, so you're going to need some kind of liquid in here. You're just going to end up with straight pepper paste. So I am adding white wine vinegar. And I'm not going to add a ton, but I'm going to add enough because I can cut it with water. And with this amount of peppers, it's going to take quite a bit to dilute it down. Tell you what I'm going to add. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. Won't need much water. I just want it where it'll circulate. It's still pretty pasty right now. Let's see where we're at. It would obviously be easier to blend if we had more liquid in it. That's all pepper and no vinegar right now. Wow. If all you've ever had is Tabasco sauce and you've never had a Tabasco pepper, then you have no idea the level of heat in a Tabasco pepper. So I added maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of a cup of vinegar earlier. That was not near enough. I added a little water. That was not near enough. So you saw how much I added there. Yeah, that's what we want right there. I want it turning. I want it blending and mixing well. Alright, let's pour this into the fine mesh strainer, and then we'll start working it through. I was just adding enough vinegar to liquefy what I had so I could blend it a little better. I'm sure if I had a better blender, I could pulverize those seeds too, but I think this is going to give me plenty of heat. And I think by the time I get done cutting it with water and salt and vinegar, I'm going to end up with quite a bit. Just off this little quart jar that we started with. You see me kind of raking this pulp off the outside. You want some of that pulp in there. You don't want it to be a clear liquid. A lot of your flavor is in that crushed pepper. What we're mainly doing is just getting the seeds out. Alright, after about 6 minutes of forcing it through there, this is what you end up with. Just kind of a thick, pasty, mainly seed mix. You could save that, use it as a real hot condiment if you wanted to. And you could return it to a ferment. I'm just going to pitch it. Alright, now that we've got it all milked out, strained, we're going to put it in a jar. You say, preacher, that don't look like much. That is still heavy concentrate. We'll probably end up with a full quart or more by the time we're done. That is extremely hot. You saw what the process I went through of blending it, straining it, taking the juice off, setting it aside. I'm going to do all that again with this jar, which shouldn't be as hot because these are Tibetan chilies, cayennes, even a few sweet peppers, onions. But I'm going to go ahead and do the same process as I did on this, and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Okay, I finished that second batch, which was made out of a mixture of peppers, and I added onions and more garlic. And to be honest with you, I didn't have to add near as much vinegar and water because it wasn't near as hot. And you remember how red this looked when we started, and you see how it still kind of turned out orange? There were a number of different colors. Yellow, red, orange, even green in here. And I was worried about it turning out really ugly. So instead of white wine vinegar, I added red wine vinegar. And we ended up with a nice, beautiful orange sauce. Now, this really needs to be diluted more. And I would do it now, except I don't have any distilled vinegar. It's sweet because I've been using the white wine vinegar, and it really just doesn't need any more sweetness, it just needs more tang, and you're going to get that from the white distilled vinegar. I just happen to be out. So I'll put a lid on this and put it in the fridge, and probably, I'm going to guess I end up, this really needs to be halved. It's painful to eat. You get a little bit on your lip. I mean, I tried it earlier, and it's really bad. But what happens is the liquid, and you might be able to notice it already, the solids in here are going to drop out. So the solution to that is xanthan gum. And what xanthan gum will do is it will emulsify or keep those things suspended. It's suspended in the liquid. Now it's a thickener, and you've got to be careful with it, and it does not take much. We're not making gravy here, so it calls for, on liquids, what was it, a half a teaspoon? Yes, a quarter of a teaspoon to a cup of liquid to thicken gravy, dressing, or sauce. I don't want a quarter of a teaspoon, and I don't have, probably have a little over a cup there, but I don't want it thick like gravy, but I do want it to suspend. So I'm calling this 1/8 of a teaspoon, and I'm going to mix it all around. Alright, maybe I should have dissolved that in a little water, but it has pretty much dissolved. I see 2 little pieces left, 3 little pieces left that haven't dissolved in there yet, but I can tell it's thickened quite a bit. Okay, the last thing to do, and you can do this, and you don't have to see me do this, is bottle it. So get you some sauce bottles. That'll probably fill up a couple of these 5-ounce bottles. put your little diverter in there and cap them and label them and share them with your friends. So that's how you make a Tabasco style fermented pepper sauce. And I hope that helps you and encourages you to get started on your own ferment. So thanks for watching.